Now that you've learned about the different parts of our Fordham College at Rose Hill core curriculum and how to search for these courses on my.fordham, as well as the different courses you'll need to take for your major or other special academic programs at Fordham, we are going to learn how to actually register for your classes. Since this video is a little on the longer side, we have a roadmap of the content of this video that's divided into 5 parts. And you'll see there will be timestamps that will appear on your screen to let you navigate to a different part if you wanted to watch this video one time all the way through and then come back and watch a certain part again later. So in part 1, which we're about to go to now, we're going to provide some schedule construction advice. Then in part 2, we will go through in real time how to actually register for a science course schedule, one with those biology and or chemistry lectures, labs, recitations with all those different components. In part 3, we'll go through a more traditional non-science student schedule registration that will not have any of those lab or recitation components. In part 4, we'll go through some in real time a demonstration of making add and drop changes. And in part 5, we'll talk about some add drop advice. As you're going through the my.fordham system and searching for the specific sections of the classes that you'd like to take, it's crucially important to keep close track of those CRNs, those course reference numbers. For example, in our Philosophy of Human Nature search results page, we see this column here, CRN, these 5-digit numbers that we're going to be keeping track of. They'll also appear if you click on the title of the section right here on the top of the window and here in the window itself. So just be very careful to keep track of these. When you go to register, you want to make sure that you just don't have them written down without any other information associated with them on a piece of paper. It doesn't really help if you have 5-digit codes written down with no idea of what they correspond to. And please double check them to make sure that they are correct, because even one number off can be a significantly different course. Next, you'll want to double check for course time conflicts. If, for example, a course meets on Tuesdays and Fridays from 10 to 11:15, you may not have another course in your schedule that also meets Tuesday, Friday, 10 to 11:15, but there could be a course that meets on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10:30 to 11:20, in which case there is a conflict. And be sure as well that you don't accidentally duplicate requirements, so not signing up for both art history and music history, for example. Next, and this is the most important piece of advice of all, have multiple backups for all courses in your schedule. It's very possible that as you're going in and registering, your preferred course sections will close out and you'll need to find backups, of which there are usually many. Be sure to also note potential conflicts between your backups and your preferred courses, which can also happen. We also do not recommend using the Plan Ahead feature on my.fordham, since it can yield confusing results. Next, be sure that you register for 5 courses. We define a course as 3 or more credits, and you should not register for any more than 5 courses. Unless, and this is when you would be taking 4 courses, you are taking both Intro Bio 1 with lab and General Chem 1 with its lecture, lab, and recitation components, in which case you can take and register for 4 classes. You cannot, under any circumstances, take 6 classes, and if you are pre-health or for any reason, you may not take below those 4 classes that are listed there. When in doubt, email your SVAC. Last, at your assigned day and time, which your SVAC will send you, you will go to the Register for Classes screen and enter these CRNs. The system makes changes to your schedule in real time. There is no lag. All the changes you make go into effect immediately. Now we move to part 2, registration for a science course schedule. So from our Student tab, we click on the familiar Look Up Classes and Student Registration link. And then once we're in this page, we'll click this link here, Register for Classes. You should not go in and click this link until it is your assigned registration day and time. You'll make sure that the appropriate term is selected and then hit continue. If you try to get in here earlier, you will get an error message. The system will not let you in. So we'll click continue. And we'll get to a page that looks like this. You can see I can click this little dot in the middle that will give me these handy 3 panes. Right away, we're not going to use this tab. We're going to click this one, Enter CRNs. And we'll be given boxes in which we can enter CRNs. For the purposes of this example, let's say that you are going to register for chemistry, lecture, lab, and recitation, which together, remember, only counts as one course. You're also going to register for biology, lecture, and lab, which there is no recitation and also counts as one course. You're going to register for Calculus 1, and you're going to register for English Composition 2. We'll begin with our Intro Bio 1 lecture and lab. Remember that for Intro Bio 1, there is no recitation. For the bio lecture, I found the CRN 10096, and as I enter it, you can see it displays the course title, the course code, and the section number here. I found a bio lab CRN as 10107, so entered that in there, and I'm just pressing the tab button to give myself more boxes. You could also click this link, add another CRN, to give yourself enough boxes for the CRNs. Next, I'm looking at the General Chemistry 1 lecture, and remember, for General Chemistry 1, there is a lecture, lab, and recitation component. For both Intro Bio 1 and Gen Chem 1, and any of the science courses that have these connected lectures, labs, recitations, you need to enter all of the components in one transaction at the same time. So I'm going to enter in the chemistry lecture CRN, and then the recitation. They don't have to be entered in any specific order. And then finally the lab. Next, I have my Calculus 1 CRN, and finally my Composition 2 CRN. So I can see everything looks good here. I have my Intro Bio 1 lecture and lab. I have my General Chemistry 1 lecture, recitation, and lab, and my Calculus 1 and Composition 2. I have all of my R sections, which I need. Now we're ready to click this button here, Add to Summary. And we can see here on this lower left-hand side pane right here, a sort of shaded view of all the classes that we're considering registering for. And we can see right off the bat that there are no conflicts between any of these sections. On the right here, we'll see they all show as pending right now. And then to register, all we need to do is click the button here, Submit. And at the top of the page, we will see a message that says Save Successful. And you will see here, it now says Registered, which means we are good to go. And we can see here on the left side, this very handy color-coded view of our schedule, as well as some details here under Schedule Details. We're now in part 3 of our video, which will show you how a student would register for a traditional non-science pre-health type of schedule. So let's say this student is taking a 5-course standard non-science freshman schedule that will have finite math, understanding historical change, composition 2, introduction to French 1, so the student is starting French, having never taken it before, and philosophy of human nature. Since there are no recitation or lab components for any of these courses, we simply need to enter 5 CRNs. We'll start with the one for finite math, which I have as 10701. Next, for the understanding historical change, I have 11013. Next, for English Composition 2, I have 11121. For French, it's 23225. and last are philosophy 10034. So we can see all of these are R sections. These are all core classes that need to be taken at Fordham College Rose Hill. We'll give ourselves this 3-pane view again, hit add to summary, and again we can see this visual view of when the courses meet. Be sure to scroll down if your course meets a little bit later in the day. If everything looks good, we will then click submit, and we get the message save successful. Each section says registered, and we see they all show up here. We now move to part 4 of our registration video, making add and drop changes. And we're going to illustrate this primarily by means of the science schedule that we went through before, but this advice, these instructions are relevant to any schedule, not just the science courses. Now, returning to the schedule that we worked on earlier in this video, what if we wanted to change the section of our Introductory Biology 1 lecture that we see right here? Well, all we would have to do is go right here to the entry here for the lecture, and under the drop-down menu under Action, select the action Web Dropped. Now, because the lectures and labs for these science courses are connected, we can't just drop this section of Intro Biology 1 outright. We need to add in a replacement lecture. So I have a CRN for that I will go back and enter in right in the box here. And we'll add that to our summary. And here we can see the change that's pending is to add the new lecture and to drop the old one. Now this is very important anytime you're doing these types of swaps. And this pertains not just to science courses, but to any course that you're making a swap for. It's important to check this box here that says conditional add and drop. What this will do is it will only drop you from the old section that you're trying to drop if the system can successfully add you to the new one. That way you're not left with a gap or a hole in your schedule if the new section of the course you're trying to get into is not available. So everything looks good. We will click submit, and the change was successful. You'll see here it will show the old section of the Intro Bio lecture with the status deleted. If that confuses you, you can simply hit submit again and it will clear it out, and you'll be left with the new schedule here. Now, what if we wanted to change both our Calculus 1 and our Composition 2 courses? We can make multiple swaps in the same transaction. Just to illustrate that here, I'm going to select Web Dropped under both Calculus 1 and Composition 2. And now I'm going to enter in the CRNs of my replacement courses. Once those appear, we'll click Add to Summary, and we can see, based on our existing courses, there are no conflicts. We'll check conditional add and drop as always, and then click Submit. And now we can see our new Composition 2 and our new Calculus 1 courses. The most important thing to remember is that whenever you are dropping those science courses that have the connected lectures, labs, or recitations, and you're making those swaps, that you always select Web Dropped under the section that you're removing, add in the new section you're trying to add in the same transaction, click Conditional Add and Drop, and then finally click Submit. We now move to the last part of our video tutorial, which is on some add-drop advice. There are 5 key points for you to consider. First, you may make schedule changes beginning on the day and time at which you are first able to register up until the start of the schedule review period, when your SVAC will review your schedule. Then you may resume making changes from the conclusion of the schedule review period until the end of the fall add-drop period, and your SVAC will provide all of these dates for you. Second, any add-drop requests made during the schedule review period, when your SVACs will be busy reviewing your schedule, are strictly limited to correction of errors and incomplete schedules and significant curricular changes. So for example, if you decide I need to leave pre-health, I want to join pre-health, I need to change into French, I want to start a new language, some type of major curricular change. A change like, oh, well, I'd prefer to switch to a different section of music history, that would need to wait until the conclusion of the schedule review period. Because you're unable to initiate changes yourself during this time, we want to be respectful of the SFAC's time while they are reviewing your schedule. When you are making changes yourself, make necessary changes first and then ones based on preference. You don't want to end up trying to rearrange your entire schedule just to avoid having to wake up for an 8:30 Composition 2 class and then cause other problems in your schedule. If you feel like you're stuck, look back through the video tutorials and the degree works guides to see which core requirements are more flexible than others for your first semester. For example, you may need to take Calculus 1 in the fall, but you may not need to take the Fine and Performing Arts requirement in the fall, for example, and contact your SFAC, of course. Finally, note that DegreeWorks refreshes overnight and will show your core and major progress based on what you're registered for at the moment it refreshes overnight. That's it for this video. In the next video, we'll talk about some common error messages you may get while you register and how to avoid them.